Hello everyone, my name is Holly and welcome back to another video. So I have been struggling to finish books since February, and I don't really know why either besides I'm just not enjoying what I've been picking up lately. That would be the obvious. I did a TBR jar video for my May TBR, and out of the 6 books that were picked for me, I couldn't finish 3 of them. And that has been an ongoing problem for me. I almost feel like it comes from being swamped by every book imaginable, and I know that sounds ridiculous, like boo-hoo, the bookish influencer hates getting free books. That's not what I mean though. I've gotten to the point where I can pretty much download any book I want from NetGalley. I get book mail almost every day, a lot of the times totally unsolicited, and books I typically wouldn't read, but maybe you guys would, so I want to show them off in case you see a book and become interested. I want you to find new favorite books, and maybe that's the issue. I'm reading for my audience and not reading for me. This feels like a therapy session and I just worked out the issue. I haven't though. But thankfully this video is sponsored by BetterHelp, who I use personally and I highly recommend. Now, I have had my fair share of struggles with mental health, especially last year. 2023 was a complete blur to me. I've recently gone through something intense for the first time involving me being admitted to the hospital. It's been my first roadblock of the year, and I'm so glad to have BetterHelp on my side, especially at this time. If you didn't know, BetterHelp connects you to a licensed therapist who's trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. I used to find it so intimidating to seek out therapy. BetterHelp came at the right time for me. It's a super painless process. You just answer a few questions, and they'll match you with a professional who has years of experience helping people with similar struggles. And once you get matched, you can choose whichever method you feel most comfortable with, whether it's phone call, video chat, or even just messaging. Therapy has been a really beneficial tool for me, and I know it can be a beneficial tool for you as well, from the comfort of your own home by visiting betterhelp.com/hollyheartsbooks and enjoy a special discount on your first month. That is betterhelp.com/hollyheartsbooks. Thanks again, BetterHelp, for working with me today. Now back to the video. I really need to be more picky about what I choose to read. For example, a couple of the books that I did finish were 4 and 5-star reads, and I will talk about the books I didn't finish today. So I think I'm going to do away with the TBR videos for now. I love doing them. I love filming them. They're even my favorite videos to watch. Planning out your reading is so satisfying to me, but it's been detrimental lately. So just putting on the brakes for now and seeing if that helps. Maybe in my new releases videos, or maybe even my book mail unboxings, I'll briefly mention if I'm going to read that particular book soon, so maybe tune into those. Okay, let's jump into the first book that I picked up in May, which was Lockjaw. There's nothing inherently wrong with this book. It has an amazing rating on Goodreads so far, but I got about halfway through it and I got bored. Nothing was really happening. It's about a small town and a group of characters who discover a monster that is living under it. It sounded super cool, and I was really excited about it because it was giving me Stranger Things vibes, but nothing was happening. There was nothing going on in the plot that hooked me. It began interesting. There was definitely a hook there, but nothing really after that. The writing read incredibly simple, which isn't an awful thing, but I do feel like there's like a sweet spot for me when it comes to writing style. It's like a pendulum for me, like not super flowery and not incredibly simple, where there's no descriptors for anything really. And this was the latter for sure. So I finally decided to let it go. What We Sacrifice for Magic, another book I got about halfway through, and it's a very short book. I think it's under 300 pages, around the 250 range. So not much progress, man. Actually, maybe I got a little bit less than halfway. I think if I actually sat down to finish this book, it would be a 3-star read. That makes it even harder to finish knowing it's a 3-star read, you know? The 3 stars isn't a bad rating for me. It's definitely middle of the road for me, okay reads. I wouldn't want a physical copy, but I'd still recommend it to certain people who like specific things. So I'm currently editing this video and I'm just now realizing that I didn't even tell you what this book was about. So it's a historical fiction fantasy that takes place in the 1960s, and it's following 3 women who are witches, and they're a family, and they're helping the people of this town that they live in with their magical powers. That's pretty much it. It's not high stakes whatsoever. It's very cozy and simple, very, very easy to read. It's a book that you can just turn your brain off and read and not have to worry about any crazy shit that happens. At least that's what it seemed like to me from what I read, but reading some of the reviews that I'm seeing on Goodreads, which by the way, this book has a 3.55 rating, which isn't bad, but with it not even being released yet, or maybe it releases soon, that's not great. And the reviews seem to be agreeing with me. Okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and move on to the books that I loved. The Silver Blood Promise. I feel like a lot of you have been waiting to hear my thoughts about this book, and well, here it is. I freaking loved it. I've been waiting for a new epic fantasy to come into my life and to be obsessed with, and how could I not be excited about a book being compared to Joe Abercrombie? It was immersive and fun. The character dynamics were fantastic. Like, Lucan and Flea were such a great duo to witness. The plot and the mystery were spot on for me, with like the push and pull of everything that was going on, like the games that they had to play. We follow Lucan, who is this ragtag kind of guy who was kicked out of school for an accident that happened. This book actually reminded me a lot of The Will of the Many, so if you enjoyed that book, I definitely think you'll enjoy this one. And because of that accident, he becomes estranged from his father and hasn't talked to him for years. He suddenly gets news that his father has been murdered under suspicious circumstances, which leads Lucan to venture into a land that is chock full of misfits and thieves, trying to find one of his father's old contacts, and of course runs into a lot of roadblocks throughout this whole mission. The world building was really well done, and we get to see the city come to life as Lucan makes his way through the different parts of the city in his quest. We also get a good idea of the world outside through like various factions, and we even get a glimpse of some of the more powerful beings in the world. And I can't help but wonder what other like supernatural entities may appear in future books, and that part of the book reminded me of the Justice of Kings a little bit. I won't say too much though. Overall, I really loved this book and would highly recommend it to any fans of fantasy. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying. This book was wild. So wild, the character dies like 20 times within like the first 10 pages. And no, I do not consider that a spoiler when it's literally in the title. The premise of this one is really funny, and the main reason I wanted to read it so badly, we have Davy, who is given a quest to save the world from the Dark Lord. She's like, yeah, I can do that, but she just keeps dying. She's reborn and dies some more. She even tries to convince others to join her, but keeps dying. And my girl is tired, so she decides that maybe the best option for her is to become the Dark Lord herself, even having her own minions. There is so much sass, so many jokes, raunchy as hell, very dirty. It's not that long of a book either, which I'm glad, because it didn't need to be like 500 pages. It's like the perfect length in my opinion. I did have some minor flaws with it. The sarcasm and the fake it till you make it attitude that Davy has does wear a little thin, so it's easy to get frustrated and just be like, okay, let's take things a little more seriously and go in with a plan this time. But other than that, it's an easy read, it's quick, I enjoyed myself. I gave this like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Maybe a 4 stars, I can't decide, but I enjoyed it. It was quirky and different. The Fire Within Them. This is the sequel to The Darkness Before Them, which is a book I enjoyed last year, and I've been really looking forward to its sequel for a while, and I wasn't disappointed. I really enjoyed this. I can't talk about it too much in detail, obviously, but we do return with our main character, Kat, and her life is looking very different after the events of book 1. We meet new characters, there's a rebellion of sorts going on in the background. If you don't know, the first one takes place in the city that has an evil tyrant king. The magic involves almost like magical glyphs, which was really cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Matthew Ward wraps up this story. I'm unsure how many books there will be, because it is called Saga, the Soulfire Saga, though that can still mean 3 books, but we'll see. I think this author is incredibly underrated, plenty of books to read from him, so if you are a fantasy nerd like me, definitely dive into these or his other series as well. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The final book that I finished in May was A Flame in the North. This is a Norse-inspired fantasy that I was really excited about when it was chosen for me in my May TBR jar video. I tend to really enjoy anything Norse mythology inspired, and I liked this one. We get to see this author's version of Loki and Odin, and I think they were implemented really well to the story. Basically, our main character has magical powers, but she's extra special, because where some people can only control an element or 2, she can control all of the elements. And during her celebration festival, her brother kills a man, and now she has to travel north with the deceased man's tribe. I'm trying to keep this very vague. So it's one of those journey stories where they're traveling, they hit a roadblock and they have to stop for the night, and they travel again and they hit another roadblock. So if that's a kind of story that you like, which I can tend to like that actually, then I highly recommend this. My biggest complaint about this book is I feel like nothing was ever explained, and I was left very confused and blind to everything. And I know the sequel is out, or it's coming out soon, but it's nice to be given some information, you know? I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and I do think I will read the sequel because there's actually a really good chance that that one will be better with how this one was like set up for it. Okay everyone, so those were all the books that I finished in May. Though I DNF'd a few books, I'm still very happy with what I read. I was actually a good booktuber and reviewed books, doing my job correctly. Before you go, be sure to check out that BetterHelp offer that will be linked down below for you in the description box. I highly recommend checking them out. Like this video if you liked, it really helps me out. Subscribe if you are not. I'd love to have you here, and until we meet again, happy reading.